my mentality in between each record changes significantly. It's a very core principle of the band that we battle the idea of becoming routine and regular and repetitive. It really must be worth thinking about and maybe worth worrying about to join a band that's been around the block a few times and has done, a handful of interesting things and put out a handful of records that people have listened to, and then to join that band and then have the other two guys go, all right, now we're going to do something different, And whatever you thought you were joining, like, we are changing that as you join.
My mentality was really like, I wrote this riff, or we could do this kind of riff, and then me and John can solo and harmonize it, and like that kind of thing. And well, I realized very quickly that this is a band that's already done that. Like, this is a band that's already written and recorded like the Isaacs and the Jake Legs and the Take My Bones Aways, and for Nick and Seb, like they've already written and recorded like the big Chlorine and Wines and Shock Me's and all that stuff.
I don't know how to articulate it, but it's like it's a difficult thing, to join a band whose identity is based on the instrument that you play and not your identity. She killed it, She understands the nuances and what John wants to get out of the guitar, and contributed a lot of like great ideas, This album wouldn't be what it is, obviously, if it wasn't for her.
I was stepping into a band that was ready for a departure from that and like ready for some growth, both from a song development perspective and like sonically. And so that kind of kicked me in the butt very quickly to kind of, I guess, evolve the way I thought about song development and just about playing the guitar in general.
If your goal is to change, if your goal is to grow and do all these things that I just mentioned, if creative expression is a pure thing, but you're trying to write music that people will want to hear and people will connect with, every time you grow, it's like when you're a teenager and you're reaching adolescence. Like, every change that you go through feels awkward and feels strange and uncomfortable for a second, until you realize that's your new reality. Jumping into so many unknowns simultaneously and with such regularity is supposed to be scary, As far as I'm concerned, Baroness record is supposed to be terrifying for Baroness to release. We're not supposed to feel 100% confident.
I think this time around was definitely more of a focus on songwriting as opposed to riffs. And I think that was interesting, I think that was interesting for John to discover some of the vocal things he did on this record, because he has like a totally new personality, really, as far as how he's singing and what he's singing about, and it's really like new territory for him, And I don't think that would have happened if we had a focus on riffs, It was more like trying to come up with interesting forms, trying to come up with interesting ideas that weren't necessarily based in like just a great guitar riff.
It sort of feels like, to me, we have really picked up in the direction the band intended to go after Yellow and Green. But since, the band was trying to fly a tour bus off a cliff 2 weeks after the record came out, and then had to deal with the aftermath of that, the creative trajectory we were on after Yellow and Green was really, we had to stop that.
I think during Yellow and Green, they wanted to make a more obviously it was a double. No, it wasn't. It was 2 albums, and it was a departure from the heavy stuff. It was more songs, more psychedelic. I think that was a first stab, and I think this is like attempt number 2, but in a much more maybe intense and dark and psychedelic way. And I think Purple was a reaction to Yellow and Green, and this in a sense is a reaction to Purple. And I think a lot of bands do that. I mean, in my experience in Baroness, we did that. In Trans Am, we did that. I think it's, you know, you love your previous album, but you want to do something different. It's like your last album is like sort of like challenging you, like I dare you, you know, do something different, do something better.
Throw Me an Anchor, most difficult rhythm I've ever had to sing a song over. Thankfully, I wrote the most simple chorus on the record, maybe. It's tough to play. That one's a barn burner.
120 BPM and 15/4.